Hello out there. I just replaced my huge 60-gallon tanked water heater from 1999 with a Rheem high efficiency condensing water heater that is propane fueled. The old tanked water heater was electric powered and was costing us a fortune with New York electric prices, and was constantly running, as I'm sure the electric company set it up to do. And now we have a nice on-demand system that should save us a lot of money. There's only one problem. We're not getting any hot water to the far faucets. Now, why is that? I have a recirculating pump here. There is a dedicated recirculation line here. And plumbers are already smacking themselves on the forehead, being like, I can see why you're not getting water to those faucets already, because I forgot something on this install. And I just figured out what it was. A day later, after finishing, I had to think about it. This dedicated recirculation line starts at the end of the house, at the end of the hot water line, and comes all the way back with no breaks, no piping off to any other faucets or showers or anything. It's just a dedicated line to come back so that the hot water, when it comes out, will instantly be hot when you turn on a faucet 100 feet away at the end of the house. I have a pretty simple setup here. I don't have two-story, I don't have anything. I just have one level of pipes that go out and the recirculation line comes in. But I'm not getting hot water to those far faucets unless the recirculating pump here is shooting water down to the end of the line. If it's not on, I'm not getting hot water. Now, why would that be? So, as you can see, I have my hot water that goes out, goes to all the faucets, and it works fine when the recirculating pump is moving hot water through this line. But, as you can see, the hot water return comes back. It's very cold right now because there's no hot water in it. Goes up, dumps into the cold water inlet. Thus, when it's functioning properly, will save you a lot of money because a lot of your water is already hot going into your water heater, which means it doesn't have to, it might only be heating it up 5 or 20 degrees instead of 50 or 60 degrees in the wintertime, because you're getting warm water that's flowing in, mixing with your cold water and getting heated and sent back out, rather than cold water only that needs to be heated a lot more. Got my check valve here to ensure that no hot water gets into my cold drinking water. I don't want that, even though I have a filtered system. You just don't want your hot water in your drinking water, in my opinion, no matter what. So here's the issue. Before, this ran to the bottom of the tanked water heater. At the top of the tanked water heater, up here, there was the hot that went out and the cold that came in. And the hot that went out also had a cast iron recirculating pump right here. So that's why I put my pump right here at the beginning of the hot water line instead of at the end of the recirculating line. Check valve ensures none of the warm water goes back in. But before, my water heater, my tanked water heater, where this recirculation line went into the bottom and would get hot and sent back out the hot tube, was acting as my check valve. It was not allowing any of the hot water to go backwards through this line. It would only go forwards. So when I reinstalled the new line for the recirculating system, I need a check valve. Or else, obviously, if you're a plumber, you would have known this before. I am not a licensed plumber. I'm a do-it-yourselfer. Cold water comes in, goes right down through the recirculation line to the end of the house, and you turn on the hot water and you get cold. You might get a little warm every now and then, but what's literally happening is there's a battle between the hot water, which is under maybe a little more pressure, but not much because I have my expansion tank here regulating the pressure, battling the cold water that's flowing backwards through this system into my faucets and showers at the end of the house. Now, another thing I noticed when I plumbed this system, which could be an issue, I may put, tomorrow, I'm going to put the isolating, well, not isolating, but the check valve in this 1/2 inch line here to ensure that the water will only flow in this direction and not back. But when I cut the hot water pipe and the cold water pipe going into the house, these both travel in, what I found was if I opened up the valve and ran cold water with no water heater, with no connection anywhere in here, there was no, it was just cut here, hot water was cut here, it was not run to the water heater yet or anything. If I ran the cold water, I would get water out of this hot water pipe. The reason for that is some of my fixtures have what's called a crossover, which means unintentionally they could have made a better faucet or whatever, but they chose to save money or do whatever. And those certain faucets typically will be the single handle style, not a dual turn where you have a cold on one side and a hot on the other. Those are typically fine. But if you have a single handle styled shower or sink faucet, those can allow your hot water or your cold water to cross over. And that's what's happened here, because I went through my whole plumbing system and nowhere in the system could I see where these two lines would cross and allow cold water to come through that pipe, which means when I had this cut off, cold water was going into the system, hitting one or more of the faucets. I have 3, I'm assuming, that could be possible culprits, crossing over into my hot water line and coming back out, which is another issue. So we'll see when I fix this tomorrow if just putting in the isolation valve is going to be enough to keep the cold water out of my hot water line, which is what's happening now, or if I'm going to have to go in and either fix or replace these faucets with a fixture that I know is not going to allow that hot water to cold water crossover. Because in a dedicated recirculation system like this, which not all houses have, but this one does, luckily, it's nice, those crossover systems are redundant. They're extra. You don't need that. You really don't want that. Typically, people would put in a bridge connection crossover, a little thing that would go under your sink to allow the hot water, which is no longer hot, it's been sitting in the pipe for 2 hours because you haven't used your hot water, to cross into your cold water, bringing hot water in faster as kind of a mock recirculation system. But when you do that, you are dumping your hot water into your cold water line, which I don't really like. I like to keep my hot water separated from my drinking water for a number of reasons. I mean, my cold water is filtered, my hot water isn't. There's Legionnaires, there's bacteria. Who knows what's going on in a hot water system over the years. When they're brand new, everything's hunky-dory, but 10 years down the road, who knows what's getting in there. So that's what we're gonna do. I wanted to post this for anybody else out there who has had a similar issue and just scratching their head and, you know, felt like they did a great job plumbing their own system and then it didn't work. And now you feel like a big dummy. And in this case, I was a big dummy because I didn't think about adding the extra check valve to stop that backwards flow. I guess I just assumed I didn't need it because there wasn't one when the tanked water heater was here. But as I said, that tank was acting as its own check valve. And it may have even had a check valve down in the connection where the recirculation line went in. Some tanks do have those right there at the connection. So that's it. If you've had the same issue, you put in a new water heater and your water heater is working, like this one's working beautifully. It cranks it out when that circulation pump's running. But you're getting cold water without your recirculation pump. That's a probable culprit. The other culprit is, you know, the crossover in the single-handed faucets down the line. So there's ways to test that by shutting off your hot water, opening up the hot water line, and then if you see that you're still getting water out of that faucet when it's hot water on only, and your hot water here is shut off, and your water heater, make sure you shut off your water heater because you want to be running your water heater while you have the valve closed, obviously. But if you find that, you know, you shut that valve off, you shut your water heater off, and you turn on the faucet, eventually the water should run out. But if the water keeps coming out and it's cold, you know, you have a likely crossover issue there. But read up on that on your own. There's other ways to test those systems. There's 2 or 3 ways more in depth. I'm not going to go into that here. I just wanted to show those of you out there, maybe you're getting ready to do an install, or you just did one and you're having the same issue with no hot water getting to your far faucets. That is a likely culprit right there. So install that check valve on the recirculation line. All right. Have a good day. Thank you all. Take care.